Welcome again to Lightning Ridge in northern New South Wales, Australia, the home of the black opal. Lightning Ridge is famous for its black opal, but it's also famous for this. This is the official sign on the way into town. This is the new sign. There was an older sign that was replaced in the early 2000s, which looked a lot more official than this, but the message is still the same. So why doesn't anyone know the population? So Lightning Ridge is an opal mining town, and that's a lot of the reason. Most towns in rural Australia exist because of farming, sheep, cattle, growing crops, that kind of thing. And that's true for some residents of Lightning Ridge. There are certainly some large farms outside of town, but most of Lightning Ridge's economy is driven by opal mining. And as economies and industries go, opal mining is a bit weird. For a start, generally speaking, it's very small scale. Most miners are independent operations, maybe one or two people, self-funded, and they rely on earning money back from what they find in order to be able to afford to continue mining. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. There are some large-scale mining operations, but even those are relatively tiny in comparison to even small-scale mining for other minerals. And one of the funny things about opal is that if you find opal, it doesn't mean that you found opal that's worth money. Unlike something like gold, which has a fixed value and you can bank on a certain amount of money for a certain amount of gold, the value of opal is really fluid and it changes depending on a lot of factors. Among other things, the value of opal can be affected by the tone, the colour, the size, the location it was found, the clarity, the quality, the brightness, the pattern, the depth, the desires of the international jewellery markets, and ultimately the tastes and business needs of the person who will buy it from you. So it's easy to say that this opal is worth this price, but it's very difficult to be sure that you'll actually get what you want for it. So a miner can work their butt off and spend all of their money and resources fueling their mining operation and actually find nothing at all, which is why a big part of the population question mark situation is that opal miners are often itinerant. They come and go. So some come in the cooler months and leave during the insanely hot Lightning Ridge summers, and some stay and mine for as long as their funds last and then go and get real jobs until they can afford to come back again and repeat the process. So does a miner who's only in town for a few months over winter count as a resident? If someone lives elsewhere and holidays in Lightning Ridge hoping to find a fortune, do they count as a local? So how do you calculate the population for a place where the primary local industry constantly pushes and pulls people in and out of the town? Judging by the sign, you don't calculate it at all. Another factor in Lightning Ridge life that contributes massively to the mystery population is these things. This is a camp. This is, in fact, a very old camp and perhaps the oldest camp. This is Fred Bodell's hut in the old Nettleton settlement, which is now a part of the 3 Mile opal field, one of the oldest and richest opal fields in Lightning Ridge.
So here we are in the breezeway of Fred Bodell's hut. Two little huts, really.
I spoke with Barbara from the Lightning Ridge Historical Society about Fred's place.
This is a collage of building materials. We've done a bit of repair work here. It certainly has natural ventilation. This cottage was built, as far as we know, 1916 by German brothers.
Fred's camp consists of 2 long corrugated iron huts. One is a bedroom and the other is a kitchen and dining space. Both of them have a wood fireplace and there's a breezeway between them which has a corrugated iron roof. And all of the roof surface is designed to funnel rainwater into 3 water tanks at the rear of the building.
The objects in this hut are belongings. They belong still to the man, Fred Bodell, who selected or made them, used them, and then left them here, still touching them gently, even now. Very comfortable and functional again. Even the sunshine milk still in the little cupboard, the pantry. And what about the shovel? Worn down to half. How much work has that done? Couldn't just run down to the shop and buy something in those days. The family of the man who lived here from 1930 till 1973 have maintained it over the years. But it certainly is the longest and oldest serving camp that we know of on the opal fields.
This camp has never had electricity, it's never had running water, and it's never had any convenience more modern than an open fireplace and a chair. This is how people lived in Lightning Ridge in the 1920s right through to the 1970s. Lightning Ridge has always been a place of innovation and necessity, and Fred's solutions to collecting rainwater and orienting his huts to take advantage of the cool breeze will attest to that. And modern camps, while obviously more luxurious than Fred's hut, follow the same principles. Lightning Ridge has always been isolated, and for the longest time it was difficult to buy stuff to build homes out of. So necessity struck, and a lot of Lightning Ridge camps are built from similar materials. Local stonemasonry walls in sandstone and ironstone, bottle walls instead of windows as a way to let the light in, shacks made from just 4 upright wooden posts and some sheet iron between them, chicken wire, shade cloth, caravans, roofs held on with ridge nails, which is the local term for carefully placed rocks on top of the roofing sheets just to weigh them down. You have to make do with what you've got. And in the 21st century, camp culture has had a flow-on effect. People in Lightning Ridge live off the grid, not because they want to hide, and not because they want to save the environment, although I'm sure many of them do, and not because they want to save money, but because it's the only option. There is no electricity because the power grid doesn't extend into the opal fields. Instead, camps will have petrol or diesel generators, solar power systems, way before they were trendy for everyone else, 12-volt wiring, or camps would just be designed to work as best they can with no power at all, like Fred's place. No running water because town amenities aren't plumbed into the opal fields. Instead, there's a public water station in the middle of town that allows camp dwellers to fill up a tank to take home with them. There's no telephone for the longest time. Mobile phones have obviously fixed that inconvenience. Natural gas would come from bottles. And there's no air conditioning. Innovations like double roofs to deflect and insulate from the heat, and clever breezeways like Fred Bodell's camp. All of these solutions have been invented just to allow people to be comfortable, and as a result, we're back to population question mark. And you can see another reason why no one knows how many people live here. It's easy to go uncounted at Lightning Ridge with its off-the-grid living by default. Over the years, there have been many attempts to calculate the population of Lightning Ridge, from counting loaves of bread and rolls of toilet paper bought from the local supermarket to more official methods such as local government electoral rolls and the national census. Some official estimates of the population include 1,826 from the 2001 census, 7,000, the local government's working estimate from 2004, 1,109 was the number of actual voters in the 2004 local election, 2,602 was the count from the 2006 census, and 4,501 was from the 2011 census. While Lightning Ridge's mystery population is largely treated as a bit of a novelty, it does have a serious side to it.
In 1996, I was the census coordinator for the town and the immediate opal fields. People, I think, are willing to give the details, but it's a matter of making them realize the importance, because with more people, we have more services. In the winter months, our population swells because we have so many visitors. So many opal miners are back working in cooler conditions. If they have a heart attack, they want an ambulance or the flying doctor. But if we don't know they're here, we can't, accumulate enough services to apply to everybody.
Lightning Ridge has always had some form of medical services, from the bush nurse to the cottage hospital that now forms part of the Lightning Ridge Historical Society's display in the main street, to the local doctors and the accident emergency centre. But it wasn't until 2003 that the town got an actual hospital, and part of the difficulty in getting important services like these is the unknown population. You can't build a hospital for 7,000 people when there's only evidence of 1,000 on paper.
And grant money is how this shire runs, for road maintenance and for services. We don't have many ratepayers, so grants are important, and those numbers really need to be counted. We were given a map of the opal fields so that we knew sort of a little bit where we were with the project. And we had the map of the town. But my collectors drew their own little maps up, sort of like chicken tracks and little notes, missing, go back. And we found we could deliver the papers, but we couldn't always find the place again to collect them.
So after all of that, what is the population of Lightning Ridge? So I decided to try a social experiment and see if we can determine a more accurate figure for the population of Lightning Ridge. The wisdom of crowds is a phenomenon where a large number of people are smarter in certain situations than a few. A great example of the wisdom of crowds is something like a jelly bean guessing competition. If you take all of the answers to a guess how many beans are in this jar contest and you average them, the average guess is usually alarmingly close to the correct amount. I polled residents of Lightning Ridge and a few other people and collected about 51 guesses. Probably not a statistically significant sample size, but a good number of contestants for a jelly bean competition, so we'll run with it. After some maths, the average result is 5,831, and that's just the mean guess. The data I collected actually lets me drill down into whether the guessers live in Lightning Ridge, if they've ever lived in Lightning Ridge, or if they've even visited the place at all. I won't bore you with the breakdowns, but I will mention that the most common guess was 5,000, and the most ambitious was 23,000. I think that's probably a little over the top, but that's okay. So is 5,831 the correct population? Well, no one knows, and probably no one will, because Lightning Ridge will always be a town where half the residents live on unpaved roads marked with handmade or salvaged signs in stone and tin shacks or hand-built off-the-grid homes, working in an industry that's unpredictable, and due to the nature of where they live, they will never be counted. This video was made with the support and participation of the Lightning Ridge Historical Society, with special thanks to Barbara and everyone who had a guess at the population, all 51 of you. If you visit Lightning Ridge, and you should visit Lightning Ridge when it is safe to do so, you should stop by the Lightning Ridge Historical Society's cottage and Cottage Hospital in Marilla Street and get a taste of Lightning Ridge's Opal Mining frontier history. And make sure you get a photo under the population question mark sign, because it's an Instagram opportunity if ever there was one. Thank you for watching. And I'm in a cactus. This is dangerous. There's a plane. Why is there a plane? What is this? Heathrow? Handmade and salvaged signs in stone and tin shacks and shacks.
That did well.
Really? Right now, of all times?
No,
It's going to go for half an hour.
Come and have a look.